Good evening, everyone. This is G, and I'm back with another low-lit video. Please don't mind the nasal strip here. It's just to help me sleep. So I'm going to try to make a video real quick before I head off to bed. So, the internet has been, the internet, over some comments Robert Pattinson made recently about Batman not being a hero / not being a superhero. So I just wanted to give my opinion on that. So I just finished reading both the Bounding into Comics article about it and the original Times article that Pattinson's comments came from. For those who may not know, Robert Pattinson has been cast to play Batman in the upcoming Batman film. I really don't care for him as an actor. Twilight was never my thing. Even when even by the time Twilight came out, I was in like my 20s, so I was a bit past all that. But let's just say that if we need a vampire I can't get the word out, protagonist, I'm much more Alucard from Helsing and a lot less Edward from Twilight. Nothing against the man. Everybody's gotta make a living. You gotta start somewhere. But I never particularly cared for his roles. I can't speak to him as an actor. All I can say is that from what I do know of him, he doesn't particularly interest me. But he is going to be playing Batman, so I thought I'll weigh in briefly on his comments. So, what he says in the Times article is that he does not feel that Batman is a real hero. Now, he doesn't clarify quite what he means by that, but if you read through the article, I believe you can infer, right? So it's not a direct statement, but I do believe if you read through the whole article, you can infer that what he may mean is that Batman is not this paragon of virtue, which is true. He's not. Bruce is a very flawed hero, right? If there's any characters who are paragons of virtue, it's most certainly Superman, and probably right after him, Wonder Woman. Batman is probably of the trio, is probably the most human one because he is very flawed, but he also actively works to better himself and to not allow his flaws to be a hindrance. But as I said in my Tony Isabella video, he's flawed. He's very demanding and controlling and manipulative, and we do know that his personal life, right, his relationships with others do suffer for his very difficult personality. Bruce Wayne is not a nice man, right? He's a good man, but he isn't a nice one. So there is that. So if what he meant is that he's not that paragon of virtue type hero like Superman is, or if we want to go with Marvel's side, Captain America is, then I would agree with him there, actually. But does that mean that Bruce Wayne is not a hero? No. I firmly believe, as I stated in my video responding to Tony Isabella, who made comments about Batman. Well, his thing was that Batman was toxic now, and I made a video listing the ways Batman actually is not toxic. But a lot of the points I made in that video I'm going to make here. To me, Batman, and when I talk about this, I mean the comics version, because in the TV shows and in most of the films, he does tend to be a bit more sincerely heroic. But I would say that in the comics version, and even that's going to be very iffy because, comic writers all have different takes on him. Frank Miller is different than Bob Kane, and it's different from everybody, right? Everybody has their own take, right? Tom King is different, and Tom King's upset everybody. So everybody has a different take on it. But I would say, generally speaking, at least to me, this is how I understand the comics version of Bruce Wayne as the Batman. The way I understand it is that Bruce is somebody who's very well aware of the fact that he could be and is capable of being as evil as the people he fights against, right? When we think of characters like, say, Superman, we really don't think of him as corruptible. Now, of course, there have been plenty of stories in the comics where he is corrupted, but we don't think of him as a person being corruptible, right? Generally speaking, it takes something drastic like mind control, right? Or something to that effect to corrupt Superman. Bruce Wayne is not that. Bruce is a flawed human being who is driven by darker impulses. Remember, he doesn't fight crime exclusively for the benefit of others. That's a huge part of it. But as he would say himself, he does want his revenge. His vigilante justice, first of all, is illegal, right? He's breaking the law. 2, right? He does want vengeance. That's clear in many of his catchphrases, right? I am vengeance. I am the night. I am Batman, right? He's basically, in many ways, Punisher, but very restrained, right? That's the difference. Punisher doesn't have the restraint necessarily that Batman does. But they're very similar, and they both are out on their own personal vendetta against crime. So he's not completely altruistic, right? He definitely wants his revenge against what happened to him. So there is that. There is this element of anger and vengeance about him that fuels him, right? Unlike say, Superman, who is fueled by optimism and hope, Bruce, I would say, is fueled with pain and despair, which has given him an iron will and determination to, as much as he can, make sure that people don't suffer the way he did, and to, again, take his personal vendetta against crime out on the criminal syndicate. So again, if you're looking for a paragon of virtue type character, Bruce Wayne is not it. Bruce, to me, is that person. How do I put it? It's like this old saying about genius and insanity. And the saying goes that the difference between genius and insanity is what you do with it. I think Bruce is the same way. Bruce could easily be as violent as Joker, as manipulative as the Scarecrow, and all these things. He could easily be just like them, or even worse, because they don't have the resources he has. He has to actively fight to not give in to those darker impulses that he has, but so much. Again, flawed. He isn't perfect. He doesn't always win the battle, as is the case with his choice of girlfriends. But he does restrain himself a lot. And he actively chooses to not become the very thing that he fights. It reminds me of one of the battles he had with Jason Todd, right after Jason was resurrected and became Red Hood, right? This is something that's been in the comics. It's been adapted for TV and movies and all that. So this is fairly well known, I think, among DC fans and Bat fans, right? But they have this fight, and Jason, says that, well, your morals are outdated, right? I was murdered and you didn't care, and all this other stuff. And Jason's very, pro kill the villain, right? So he demands an explanation. He demands an explanation as to why Bruce will not kill someone like Joker, who has killed so many others. And he accuses Bruce of being weak, of not basically being man enough to kill Joker, and saying, well, it's too hard for you, isn't it? And Bruce explains to him, he's like, no, it isn't about it being too hard. It'd be too easy. it would be too easy to kill someone like Joker. And then it would tip him over that line, because I subscribe to the idea personally when it comes to Batman that he is pretty much as insane as Joker is. He just applies it in a different way. But again, like with Killing Joke, right? Killing Joke was Joker trying to prove that all it takes is one bad day and you're just like me. So what did he do? Because even he knew that Bruce is made of stronger stuff, he made sure to create the most psychologically scarring event he could possibly come up with that involved two other people, right? Barbara being shot, and then of course Gordon, right? That was psychological warfare as much as anything else, because he was trying to break him and prove, you are just like me. I think that he got pretty close, but the difference is that Bruce is that type of character who, and a type of person who takes the pain, takes the injustice, and he uses it as fuel to be to others and to be for others what was not there for him, right? There was no one there to protect him and his family when they were accosted by the mugger that night. So he makes sure to be the protector, because he knows what it's like to be defenseless and helpless. He knows what it's like to witness a murder and not be able to do anything. So that, to me, is the type of person he is. He is definitely, I think, on the edge, and could very much be just as bad as the criminals he fights. But it's because of his, generally speaking, strong stance on morality that I think keeps him away. It's like, another way I would describe it, it's like somebody who knows that they have a particular vice or problem, or they could have it, and so they actively avoid it. It's like, I've known people who will not drink, right? Will not consume any alcohol. And it's not because they don't like alcohol, it's because they like it too much. It's because they know that if they have just one, they will not stop, right? It's because they find that particular thing, like alcohol, to be this very seductive, appealing thing that they know ultimately is going to ruin them, but if they indulge in it and they engage in it, it's not just a case of they find it hard to resist, they can't stop. And so what they say is, look, I know that if I start, I'll never stop. So I'll just never start. And I think Bruce is the same way. I think he knows that if he were to start killing, that he would never stop killing. Because he does have so much pent-up rage and anger and pain and aggression. So that's the way I see it. So again, paragon of virtue, not necessarily. He's one restraining bolt away from becoming Gotham's worst nightmare. But that's also where his strength comes in, because he does have the moral strength in most cases, again depending on the writer, to restrain himself, to not give in to that temptation. And honestly, if you're looking at a character, what is more inspiring? Somebody who is tempted and who wants to, but who resists the temptation, or someone who can never be tempted because nothing is appealing to them, right? There's no struggle, right? If someone offers you a food that you don't like and tells you to eat it, there is no temptation there. You don't like it, right? You can't tempt somebody with something that they don't like or that they don't want. If somebody tempts you with a food you don't care for, you reject it because you don't like it. But again, if somebody tempts you with a food or a drink or a person or whatever that you really do want, right, The struggle is in the resisting. The victory is in the resisting, and that's where the inspiration comes in. Because you were able to say no even when all you want to do is say yes. So there's that. So is Bruce a paragon of virtue? By no means. Is he a hero? Yes. Now, another thing that Pattinson supposedly said is that Bruce is not a superhero because Bruce doesn't have superpowers. This is a common argument and a common debate in comics, so I'm going to keep this part brief. In my personal opinion, Batman is a superhero, but not for the reasons that some would say. To me, Bruce Wayne's a superhero not because of his money or his tech or his gadgets. That just allows him to actually be of practical use. Right? Same way Hulk's supernatural strength, right, allows him to be of practical use because he can fight monsters and lift stuff and all that. But that's not what makes you a hero. Strength, physical strength in and of itself doesn't make you a hero. Money in and of itself doesn't make you a hero. Tech in and of itself doesn't make anybody a hero. To me, what makes superheroes, whether it's Batman, Superman, Wolverine, or anyone else, is their intent and their sacrifice. If you look at Bruce Wayne, right? If you compare Bruce Wayne to, say, a good, honest cop, right? Bruce is a superhero where the cop is just a hero. Now, you may ask, well, why is that? Because the cop, and I'm not trying to denigrate or disrespect police officers in any way, please understand. I have a cousin in the force, so I'm certainly not trying to denigrate the police. But the police officer, while a good honest cop no doubt is motivated by wanting to help and be of service to others and protect them and catch criminals and all that, the police officer also expects something in return. Whether it's a paycheck, whether it's being promoted and going up the ranks over the years, whether it's a pension at the end of it all, right, after 20, 25 years of service and they get to retire. They do expect something out of their hard work. They do expect a reward. And it's not just the reward of putting criminals away and making the streets slightly safer. And I want to be clear, there's nothing wrong in wanting compensation or anything like that for your hard work, by no means. Again, it's not a criticism. But I do think that expectation of a reward is what separates a hero, in this case the cop, from a superhero. Because Bruce doesn't expect anything back, right? The best way I can describe it is a line from the song It's Alright. It's originally a Black Sabbath song. It was covered by Guns N' Roses, and the Guns N' Roses version is the one that I am most familiar with. But the line goes something to the effect of, give it all and ask for no return. Very soon you'll see and you'll begin to learn, and it's alright. And the song continues. It's that sacrifice, right? That giving everything without asking for anything back. That is what I think makes the sacrifice that, in this case, Bruce Wayne makes much more unique and exceptional than that of the police officer. Because while they are making a lot of the same sacrifices and taking the same risk, for example, the risk of dying in the line of duty, Bruce isn't paid for this, right? Bruce is not paid for this. In fact, as I mentioned earlier, he's in violation of the law because he's a vigilante. Vigilantism is illegal. He's breaking the law to enforce it. It's an odd thing about him, right? Or rather to protect the city, because as a vigilante he can do things that the police can't because they have to worry about rules and Miranda rights and all this other stuff that he doesn't have to be bothered with, right? So that's the first thing, right? So Bruce takes on the burden of technically being a criminal right? He takes on the burden of having the police come after him, having the criminal element come after him, right? And being an object of hatred and derision and fear, because even the people he rescues, right, he's so terrifying in the moment that they probably run away screaming, right? So it's not as if he's getting, a clap on the back and a good going, pal, the majority of the time. He's not. And then we just think about all the practical stuff, right? The money that he no doubt spends, the millions that he no doubt spends on body armor and the cars and the bikes and the planes and the research and the weapons and the training and the repair and upkeep and the tech, right? Goodness knows how much millions of dollars it takes for him to go out every night, night after night, year after year, and fight crime, right? And he does this for free. He gets no money back. Now, some may say, well, he's a billionaire. Okay, that doesn't change the fact that when he's operating as Batman, he's operating at a financial loss. Because, again, he does not get money for this. He is not compensated for his time, his energy, his research, or anything else. From a purely economic standpoint, being Batman is a huge financial loss. It's a cash sink. Now, is it waste of money? No, of course not, right? But again, he isn't making any profit off of this. So just think about that alone, right? Let's say it cost $10 million. Let's say for the sake of argument, it costs $10 million a year to go out and be Batman every night, putting your life on the line, and you're spending $10 million a year that you are not making back from this endeavor. How many people are really going to keep doing that? You might do it 1 year, 2 years, but then you're like, I'm out $20 million. Okay, I'm going to hang it up. I think this is what most folks would do. I'm going to hang it up, going to shut this down, I'll take the money, and I'll, donate more to the police or to this cause or to that cause. But I'm not going to risk my life night in and night out and spend $10 million to do it. I don't think the majority of people would. But Batman does. Batman does because he doesn't do it for the money. Money is just a means for him to be able to do what he does. Just like superpowers allow Hulk to lift things and be of use, Bruce's money and the tech it buys allows him to be of use. So it isn't about powers or money or tech or anything else. That is not, in my opinion, what makes a superhero. What makes a superhero is their intent, it's their motivation, and most importantly, it is what they are sacrificing. Bruce, as I said in the Tony Isabella video, is sacrificing his personal health, his personal physical and mental well-being, his personal relationships, all to fight a battle that ultimately he cannot win. But his desire to protect others is so strong that he's willing to make those intensely painful and personal sacrifices. If that's not a superhero, if that's not a hero, then I honestly don't know what is. So that's pretty much all I have to say on that. The only other thing is that, given Robert Pattinson's comments, one wonders what this new version of Batman for the film is going to be like. Is it going to be somewhat recognizable to what we've seen in the TV series and in the comic books? Or is it going to be like the Titans version of Dick Grayson, who behaves more like Jason Todd? Who knows? I guess we'd have to wait and see. But anyway, that's my ramble. Those are my thoughts on Robert Pattinson's comments about Batman and Batman not being a hero. So please feel free and to let me know in the comments what you think. And I should have done this earlier, but as always, thank you so much for taking time out of your day or your night to hear me out I sincerely am thankful for the engagement and that you're willing to spend time on me. So I will see you guys in the next one. Have a good evening and quick welcome. Well, evening or day, right? Because some of you are not in. Well, most of you, I don't think, are in New York. So whether you're in wherever you are, whether you're having a good day or a good night, I hope it's good. Have fun. Be safe. I will see you in the next one. And I'd like to give a shout out and a welcome to Tiamat Michelle Hart. Welcome to the club. I hope that you enjoy the content. All right. I will see y'all around. Bye.